Well, lab number 6, the Gaussian distribution. Then we have here the introduction. I'm going to skip this part. If you want to know more in detail about the normal or Gaussian distribution, I recommend to watch the video notes. So let's go straight to the lab. It says birth weights of newborn babies. Suppose the birth weights of newborn babies tend to follow a normal distribution with mean 7 pounds and standard deviation 1 pound. Percentile. Find the 75th percentile of birth weight. I mean, what is the value such that the probability for that value, that the distribution is less or equal than that value is 75% or 0.75. So we follow the instructions, calc, probability distributions. Notice here it said we have to choose normal and then inverse cumulative, but in this case we have to choose first inverse, and then be sure that here in distribution you have the option of normal. And the mean is 7, it's already there, the standard deviation of 1, but here in the value you have to write 0.75 here, that part, you see, 0.75. Be careful with that. Display the table of inverse, so okay, and the answer is 7.67. This is the answer, 7.67. Very well. Oh, here is the option to write it down, 7.67. There you have. Now, less than a probability. Find the probability that babies are born weighing less than 6 pounds. Oh, on the menu, now select probability distributions, normal. Choose the option cumulative. In this case, cumulative. And the value is going to be 6. And be sure that you include the mean, that is 7, and the standard deviation, well, it's 1.01 actually. And then OK. And the probability is 0.1586 or 0.1587. 0.1587. So there you have. I think it is correct. Mean 7, standard deviation 1. The probability that we have less than 6. Means 7. So it seems to be correct. All right. Now go to the other part. Soil pH. The pH of soil samples taken from a certain geographic region is normally distributed with a mean of 6 and the standard deviation of 0.15. Normal curve. Draw the normal curve. On the menu, select Graph Probability Distribution Plot. Graph Probability Distribution Plot. Now the instructions say select view single. Well, this is different. In this case, we want to know the shape of the density of the normal density. So we're going to choose view probability. Then OK. And then we have to specify the mean. The mean is 6, and the standard deviation is 0.15. 0.15. So far, we don't need to indicate anything else. So that's all by now. We're going to have the normal curve of this distribution, of this random variable. It's normal. Yeah, remember that normal means that the distribution or the density in this case is bell-shaped. All right, so what about this? Ignore this by now. I think there's no way that we can remove this by now, but leave it like that. Ignore it. We're going to use something like this later. Now it says draw the Z-transform distribution at the same steps as above. Make sure you change the mean and the standard deviation to the Z distribution. All right, so in this case, we go to graph, probability distribution plot, view probability, OK. Now here, change the mean by 0 and the standard deviation by 1. Standard deviation by 1. And then OK. And there you have. There you have one way to have the normal density for any specific variable. Now, visualizing probability distributions, graph the curve and find the probability that the pH is less than 5.95. So in this case, we repeat the same. Graph, probability distribution plot, view probability, OK. Be sure that we have the right mean. It's 6. Standard deviation is 0.15. Now here in the options, you have to choose in this case, we're trying to find the probability, so we need to choose the option specified x value, and we're going to choose left tail, and then write down the x value for which we want to compute the probability such that we have the area behind that number. The number in this case is going to be this one, 5.95. So I write here 5.95 and then click OK. And then again, OK. And there you have. You're going to have the density curve, but with the corresponding probability. The probability is given is this one, 0.3694. But there's no, well, let me write it here, 0.3694. There you have. And by now that's all. Now we have to respond to these questions. Find the probability that the pH is greater than 6.10. Repeat the process. Go to graph, probability distribution plot, view probability, OK. In the options, choose specified x value, but now choose the option 6.10. Write down 6.10, I mean. Now notice, before it was less, we computed the probability less than 5.95, but now it says greater. So how do we specify that? In this case, specify, choose the option right tail, this one here. So we're going to have the area to the right of the number 6.10, and that area is going to be the probability. So then OK, and then OK. And the answer is this number, 0.2525. There you have. Now this one is interesting. Find the probability that the pH is between 5.90 and 6.15. Repeat the process. Go to graph, probability distribution plot, view probability, okay, options. Now, to know the area or the probability between two values, choose the option middle. This one, middle. And then you will have to specify the two values. First, the lowest value, that is 5.90, and then the greatest value, that is 6.15. Then OK, and then OK. And you're going to have the area in between the two values and the corresponding probability, 0.5889. Now find the 95th percentile. How do we do this? All right, with the same graph, go to graph, probability distribution plot, view probability, okay, the same process before, mean 6, standard deviation 0.15, click the button options. Now here, instead of choosing the option specify the X value, choose specify probability, because we're going to specify a given probability. That's the meaning for a percentile. The 95 percentile is a number such that the probability that the variable is less than this number, less or equal, is 95. What number satisfies that condition? So we're going to look for it. 95. Well, in this case, don't choose the middle. 95 percentile, by definition, you have to use the left tail. So type here 0.95. Be careful. Do not type 95 only. Type 0.95. Then OK, and then OK. And there you have, you see? All of this area is supposed to be 0.95%, well, or 0.95 or 95%. And what is the given value? This one, 6.247. Yeah. So this is how you need to work with this activity. The number 4, I'm going to leave this for you so that you can do it. That okay? You will have to repeat the same process before, only change the 0.95 by 0.32. And then you have to write down the answer. All right, that's all by now. See you later.